Hey, it's Heidi Dawson, and this is Wednesday Wisdom, where I interview wildly successful people from across the world, where we get an inside view into what their daily life looks like. Success leaves clues, and on Wednesdays, we're finding them. Join me now for the latest wildly successful interview. Hi, guys. Welcome to the 69th episode of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast, and welcome to Wednesday Wisdom. My guest today is one of the most sought-after weight loss experts in the world. She's the author of the awesome book, You Can Drop It, and the creator of To Be Mindset, where she coaches and has programs for weight loss, which who doesn't love that? She's helped more than 240,000 people with their weight loss goals through not only nutrition education, but mindset as well, which is one of the things that drew me to her. Now, she's also a registered dietitian nutritionist and acclaimed public speaker and influencer. But what's so cool about her, too, is that she had her own weight loss journey, where she lost 100 pounds, which is insane, you know? She can speak from personal experience, and I think that is what makes her so relatable. So she's in super high demand, and I'm super honored that she's here. So welcome, Is it Elena?
Ilana. Thank
Ilana.
you.
Ilana.
Yes.
So nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is your entertaining and so real videos on Instagram. I love them. How do you come up with those? Like, do you have a set amount that you do each day?
I'm so thankful. I feel so blessed and thankful that Reels and TikTok, like I have 1.1 million followers on TikTok.
Oh,
I'm so thankful that stories and Reels and TikTok and all that has come to fruition, because I felt like I was suffering on Instagram for 8 years or so.
wow.
I'm not the perfect photo, perfect filter, 10 hours for this one moment type of person.
Mm-mm.
It's just not how I roll. I'm very on the fly, super casual and undone and messy, but
I think that's what people love about you.
Right. And so, and that's what I love about myself, at trying to put my personality in the square, perfect picture framework it just never worked. It was like a round peg in a square pod or whatever it is. So video is so much easier. So I'm a public speaker. I've been teaching classes at UCLA for so many years. I've been public speaking forever. I do a lot of video work always. I'm always in front of the camera for video. So I'm it's kind of like the perfect storm. It just worked out in my favor. And I'm loving every moment of it.
Well, I was talking to some people that do production for video, and we were talking about, because I love video as well. And, you're so beautiful also, but they said that when people are really good at video, it's oftentimes because they're putting their personality first. Like they love people and they love connecting. So that's so fun about you, and your reels feel that way. Like it feels like you're talking directly to me, which is awesome. So, okay. So you're a public speaker. Did you do it? Was that something that you did in school? Like that you learned in school, or did you do Toastmasters? How did you do that?
So, very fortunate that, I honestly, my first time ever public speaking in my life was in high school. And I remember there was one teacher who was coordinating this big school-wide event. And I went to a school, it wasn't too big, but it was maybe 600 to 700 kids. And he asked me to speak in front of the entire school randomly. The reason why is because it was a Jewish school, and there was a holiday coming up where it's called Tu B'Shvat, where you celebrate trees. It's called the Holiday of Trees, Chag HaIlanot, and my name is Ilana, which means tree. And obviously I have a lot of personality and whatever, and he's like, it would be so great if you wore a green sweatshirt in front of the whole school and shared something about this holiday, because your name means the holiday. And I remember sweating my face off, sweating, shaking, freaking out, thank goodness he told me he wanted me to do it just the day before, so I didn't have too much time to think about it, because that would probably have steered me out of it. But he probably doesn't even remember me, let alone the story. But that was like my first time doing public speaking.
That's
And
awesome.
just like with weight loss, just like with anything in life, like, I love the line, if you could do it once, you could do it again. And I think with that sense, it just kept propelling me into more public speaking. And then in university, I took a public speaking class, and I think I just, aced it in that understanding. And ever since, it's something I love to do. I love to Q&A. I love to
Yes.
understand people a lot.
Well, it shows. So there's a couple questions I love to ask everybody, and so I want to get these from you as well. Now, you have two beautiful little kiddos, right? I see them in pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I know that your life is hectic, but do you have like a set morning routine that you can tell us about?
I love hearing this on podcasts and hearing people who don't have kids talk about their like 9-hour routine of very meditative, and everything has its time. They're super present and they don't look at their phone. And I just laugh, because that becomes less and less and less of a reality as time goes on. But I feel super fortunate to have, kids jump in my bed at the start of my day. So it's just very different. I will say it when it comes to weight loss, because my mind always thinks like weight loss and helping people lose weight and get their nutrition on board, it definitely makes things difficult, because I can reflect on times where I felt so centered and so fit and so organized with, I see private clients on this day and I do this on that day and all that. And it's really, I know anything is possible. I just have to take so many hours around how I would make a routine possible at this stage of my life. And then my kids had to go into this forced quarantine once we started school. It's like nothing is consistent in life. So I'm really thankful my weight loss program and my whole weight loss and nutrition philosophy has always had a lot of chaos and lack of structure in place, because that was my childhood and my upbringing. So that's where I had to lose weight through divorced parents and moving around a lot and all of that. So thankfully I'm still able to maintain my weight loss and lose more if I want. Even in quarantine, I broke my foot, and you can lose weight or keep it off without exercise. So thankfully my program, my philosophy always allows for you to progress even in chaotic and stressful times. But of course, everything takes just a little bit more effort. It's possible, but it's one of those things. My clients this year are seeing so much success, and I love telling them, if you could do it now, you'll have a great time.
Oh, right.
In another time. So
it's going to be so easier. I love how that you're doing this, and you're saying it's chaotic, and even like you don't have a set morning routine, because sometimes like we don't have children, right? So I do have like
enjoy your morning.
So I get up and I meditate and I journal. But I also just recently interviewed another mom who was the same way. She was like, "Oh my God, no!" She said, "I slept 11 hours last night. I woke up at 11 a.m." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's awesome." But she gets everything done. She goes, "I just am very, very productive and efficient in the times when I, am doing that." So that's good though, because it's inspiring to people out there, because not everybody's lives are easy. It's not. There is a lot.
Oh God, life hasn't been easy in so long. But I love the line, "Life doesn't get easier; we just get stronger." I think that's that.
I'm making notes of that right now, because I like that a lot.
Yeah, life doesn't get easier. We just get stronger. And then I always try to remind myself, one day my kids will be out of the house and in college or whatever it is, and I'll be so bored. And that's when I'll wake up in the morning and do yoga and then go to tennis and all these things. But right now it's definitely like, I don't know when I'm going to work out, if I can work out, and all those things. So my basic principles are always water first. So my trademark is water first, veggies most, water first. Like that gives me some sense of structure. I also believe in the daily scale. It's one of my principles of my weight loss program, which I don't recommend everyone just go on the scale every day if you're not doing my program and understand how to use it. But that's another like grounding ritual, like doing something every day, brushing your teeth, going on the scale, drinking water first, like having 3 or 4 things you do every day definitely helps, even if you can't do 25, which you probably do without noticing, but you probably have more things that you can keep stagnant. But yeah, prior to quarantine and everything, and I'll always, within my program, I always recommend a consistent breakfast. It's nice when there's so much going on to just have the same thing every day. I haven't been able to pull off a consistent breakfast in like 9 months just because the days just change. The Zoom signups, are we having school today? Are we not? Like my husband's job. I mean, some days I'm eating their leftover cereal, some days I'm doing this, but you know,
that's
make
great.
it work.
Okay, good. But you still manage to keep it all together. Like you still manage to maintain your weight loss, even having kids. So this is kind of an off the cuff question. So do you still keep food in the house that is
such a good question? That tempts me or that's don't?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people would laugh if they saw my pantry. It's like, first of all, we just went away to my mother-in-law's for a few days for the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. It literally was a bake shop. We had cronuts. We had a honey cake on every like 3 feet of counter.
Oh my word.
Macaroons, ice cream, like special new desserts at every single meal. Like just outrageous.
So how do you not eat that?
What?
How do you not eat that?
So, I mean, thankfully my program, like I'm a volume eater. I need to be very full. I don't like to ever feel deprived or hungry. Okay. So I brought a lot of veggies because I always say water first, veggies most. I knew that there would be some veggies there, but definitely not veggies most. So I brought salads. I brought roasted broccoli. I brought roasted portobello mushrooms. I eat protein at every meal. I drink a lot of water. I always make sure I'm very, very full going into especially the dessert course. And then I always make myself like a coffee or a tea to help keep my hands busy. And definitely tried to have fruit. Like there was some delicious watermelon and blueberries and strawberries and all that stuff there. And then I would just have like a couple of bites of the dessert rather than going into it hungry and eating 25 of the desserts.
Right, which is what happens. Okay, that's great. So
that's like how my program is designed. My book and my program is designed to like, you're not gonna, of course it's always gonna look delicious, but telling yourself you're just gonna have one when you're hungry is like, quit that. Just know yourself, don't test yourself, and just set yourself up for success.
I love that. And we're going to, I mean, at the end of the podcast, I always make sure that we get in touch with you because I know, like, for me, I looked at your program and I was like, this is really doable. It just feels so, and it feels like you could do it and you wouldn't hate it.
Right. And even like for you, like, even if you don't have a lot of weight to lose or that, it's still just good to just establish these tips, these suggestions, to have a healthy relationship with food, to ensure that you don't just gain a lot of weight later on in life, right, and all these things.
Which is when it happens, So, all right. So now, just real quick, do you have a set amount of hours that you have to sleep, or with kids? Is that another thing that's just like chaotic?
I mean, I think in an ideal world, I really think internally my body would love 7.5 to 8.5 a day. Like I think my body with 8.5 would be so excited, but I settle for anything more than like 6:45, especially if it means I'm able to like get a workout in or do something else. If it's not that, then I try to do at least 7.5.
Okay, well that's good. I mean, I think that's pretty good because I hear some people that they're like, well, I can't sleep and I get 6 hours. For me, I have to get 7.5 to 8 too. Otherwise, I'm not feeling great.
My skin is better. Everything is better. My eating is better. But yeah, I try not to I used to be a sleep counter. Like I had to know how many hours I slept. And I feel like that made me overthink things for no reason. So now I'm
a sleep counter. Every morning I'm like, I figure it out how much I slept.
Yeah, I still do it a little bit, but I try to tell myself over and over again, if I'm not doing something for work that's like very productive, then really nothing important happens after 10. Like it's, but you know,
That's reasonable. I mean,
we live in a very distracted world, and I love TikTok, so it doesn't usually work out.
yeah, TikTok is I have to tell you that I had to delete it because I can get nothing done.
Yeah.
I mean,
Stop.
seriously, 4 hours. I could sit there. I mean, it is so entertaining. I just couldn't. I'm too distracted by it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't have another distraction that.
So good for you. That's like having a cake around and continuing to eat it, like rather than just
That's
talk.
good. Thank you. I feel accomplished on that.
Yeah, it's smart to do that.
Okay, so now, is there one thing that you would say that helped you? You're so relatable because you've lost. People can say, "Wow," because you would look at you and go, "Okay, now you don't understand." But if you look at your journey, you lost 100 pounds. So, is there one thing that you could say that helped you stick with it? That is an identifiable
Yeah.
characteristic that people.
Yeah, I'm just like, a lot of people don't want to hear this. They don't like to hear it. It comes across as potentially abrasive, but you should know I've been every weight and size. I've been every size from a 2 to a 20. Like, I get it. I could say what I want. This is how I personally feel and what
Right.
keeps me motivated, and what is typically what my clients share the same sentiment as me, which is I just know how deeply better I feel lighter. Like, it's just not even a question that everything in my life feels easier, leaner. Like, it's not. And I know there's, a lot of debate, and you could be healthy and you could be overweight and all these things. And there's some truth to it. But at the same time, like, people just keep forgetting or pretending to forget the fact that obesity and being overweight is just a major risk factor for heart disease, for diabetes. Like, our bodies don't actually function as well when they're carrying 40 excess pounds of fat, or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 or 100. And the differences in every 10 pounds I lost was extraordinary. Like, every 10 pounds I lost, I had exponentially more energy. It was so much easier to get dressed in the morning, which made everything else easier. It allowed me to be on time. It allowed me to be less messy and not have to ransack my entire closet every time I had to go out. It made me want to go places. It made me want to take pictures. It made me not want to delete every picture I saw of me. It made me more confident. It made me more excited to do things like public speak. It made me not have chub rub. It made me like everything and more in my life just got better and better and better every pound I lost or healthy habit I took on. So it's kind of just such a clear distinction that I'm highly motivated to keep with it. And I think for people who have just 10 pounds to lose or 15 pounds to lose, or who've been carrying the weight for much longer, I don't know, or who are surrounded, I don't know what it is, but I really think it takes that first step of knowing that it's important for you to get going, which is why in my book, I say, like, before you even start, like in the introduction, I'm like, just admit to yourself that you care, that you want to lose weight, that you know you can. And there's no like phantom thyroid, genetics, anything that's holding you back to losing at least a couple pounds. Like, decide that, and decide that you care to lose this weight, because then you actually can. Then you can read the rest of my book and take all the tips. But I think it's always in those moments where people go, I don't care, that they just finish the bag of chips, rather than remind themselves, ooh, I do care. Let me like roll them up and take a walk. So I think
That's very valid. That's good advice, because we do tend to want to kind of stick our heads in the sand and say, well, I'm accepted the way I am. And of course you are, but you have to feel good. You have to show up for yourself. And that's what you're saying is so important, is to realize right out of the gate, I want this and I care.
And don't deny it, and don't sugarcoat it, and don't say, I want to lose weight, but I'm comfortable where I am. Because it's those buts that, and lack of conviction, that keeps the plateau, keeps the weight gaining and things like that. And I think I'm just like a very, I'm like a real,
straight talker,
straight talking New Yorker.
Yeah.
So for me, like, once I learned facts, I stopped messing with my own head. There's a great book, like I kept reading and also studying more nutrition and realizing like high fructose corn syrup, sugar, fat, all these things, they're not designed for self-control. They're
Right.
designed for over compulsive eating.
They're
So that was
addictive.
really, so that was helpful because I would just learn that, okay, I'm not a quote unquote food addict, binge eater, psychopath for liking and eating these foods. These foods are the crazy ones that are making me overeat them. And so that was empowering. And I think now, unfortunately, it's like really hard to be clear with this message and educate the next generation, because I was just talking to my sister-in-law yesterday, and like it's obvious to you and me candy's not healthy,
Right.
right? But
Right.
we've fallen into this like crazy weird media sense where our obesity rates keep climbing, our heart disease keeps climbing, our diabetes and kidney failure and all these like issues that are weight related keep climbing. And yet you really can't say publicly that candy's unhealthy now, which doesn't make any sense. But like when I say on TikTok that candy's unhealthy, like I actually get attacked, which is so odd and unfortunate. But now people are so sensitive to like, but it is healthy to have it once in a while. But there is an underlying thing where these foods don't necessarily make it once in a while.
Right. You don't, it's like eating one chip. I mean, I'm not ever going to sit down and eat one chip.
No one's going to have one chip.
Oh, my little sister, over the weekend, we went to Nashville and she had a bag of salt and vinegar chips, and she's this big, like she's a toothpick, right? And so she's like, oh, she had them, and I just was like, I'm not even going to have one, because if I have one, I'm going to eat 4 bags.
100%. And you have to know yourself and not test yourself.
Right.
And I think people keep trying to like feed themselves this myth that everything's okay in moderation and all these things.
Right.
But if your history shows that you can't have these things in moderation.
Yeah. For some people, everything is okay in moderation. But if it's not,
very rare. In America, it's rare. In other countries, it works. But we live in such a society where more is more.
An instant gratification.
Buy one, get 5 free.
Yeah.
It's not in our culture to do moderation.
Right? We don't do anything in moderation.
We don't do anything in moderation. Nothing, everything is over the top, excess, opulence,
yes,
non-restrictive. I mean, you see it with how we're dealing with COVID compared to all these other countries. Like, you can't trace us. You can't track us. We don't like rules. We don't like confines and moderation. So it's just like this frustrating thing, because I want to be able to help more people. But I think it's like I'm kind of up against a whole new animal now.
I like that you're doing that, though, because just hearing you say that, like, I think people that are listening, just hearing you say that, it feels good to hear somebody tell the truth and be real. And
but I'm also sharing like a real day-to-day struggle I'm having, because like I'm so passionate about helping people understand that like knowledge is power. And sometimes when you know these things, it helps you make such better decisions, and it makes temptation so much easier to come across and deal with. But it's hard because as I become a bigger and bigger influential figure, you have more and more sensitivities and people who are watching who are triggered in different ways for different things. So, it's definitely, I'm very blessed and thankful that I can have one-on-one private confidential conversations with people, so I can continue to work with people the way they need to hear. I've been able to write a book that has been really resonating so well with so many people. And then I just, on the platforms where I have a bigger audience, you definitely have to soften the message more and more so that the people who really want it will continue to find you in other ways.
And that's a good point. You do. It's not like you're conforming. You're softening the message so that the people that really need it and can get to you privately or can get to your book can find you. Because if you just you just were like, well, I am what I am, and this is the truth, and this is what I'm going to say, you would be kicked off very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to meet people where they are. You have to really meet people where they are. And it's like all the messaging right now is on healthy at every size. Everything's in moderation. You can eat
Right.
whatever you want, and like, get through Corona and stress with banana bread and sourdough starters and all these things. I have to meet people from starting there rather from, a more educated place of trying to have lost weight in the past and understand, because when I work with someone who's maybe like 30, 40, 50, 60s, very likely they've done at least a Weight Watchers or a this in the past or
Sure.
that, and they an understanding. But on TikTok, which is a platform that I've like really been focused on now,
Okay.
it's a lot of teens, and I'm their first window into nutrition advice, and so you
Right.
kind of have to put yourself in their shoes of what are kind of like some basic understandings that would be helpful. So today I shared a tip on, I have a real life cacao plant here. Like this is actually what cacao looks like. This is what
Okay.
chocolate really is. And
All
so I
right.
kind of showed them like if you bite into this that it's actually bitter. It doesn't
Right.
have that sugar and a healthy tip for reducing cravings of chocolate would just be finding a higher percentage of cacao. A
Right.
little bitter, higher in antioxidants and fiber and things like that. But
And
we'll
then
see.
you also don't want to eat the whole like bar. If you have one piece of 90% cacao, you don't want the whole bar. You want that
Right.
one piece, and it's satisfying.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, that's I like that, and that's interesting to me because TikTok is a younger crowd, I think, but not always. I mean, I think there's a
It's
lot.
growing.
It is. It's growing, and hopefully it gets like whatever worked out so that it gets.
Politics, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we get that worked out. So, okay, you mentioned water first, and I know you have your core four process, which is water first, veggies most, use the scale and track your progress. In tracking your progress, okay, do you track your water? I mean, is there a certain
You
amount of water?
should. You
Yeah.
should.
Okay. So,
I try to just stick to like a certain number of bottles a day. So some
okay.
people like to do rubber bands, like they'll put 5 rubber bands on their water and they'll shift it from top to bottom when they finish a water bottle. So they keep track of how much water they drink a day. There's some apps that help you. But definitely it's a good idea to
To
have
track.
some sort of idea of how much water you're drinking every day.
Yeah, because it's easy. I love water. That's all I drink really during the day is water or unsweet iced tea. And so it's easy though when you're busy to think, oh, I've had plenty of water. And then when you really think about it, you're like, no, I've had like 30 ounces today.
Mm-hmm.
So tracking it makes me aware of that. And I do different things. I'll set 5 or 6 bottles of water on the island, but I'm an interior designer by trade, so it bugs me to look at them. So I'm kind of like, okay, I want the water out, but I don't want to see it all day. So anyway, I'm trying to come up with a really good plan of how to count my water. Second question, spark.
Interior design is, by the way, like the most fascinating thing to me.
I
It's
it
my
is
most respected career, just because I don't have the brain for it. And it's one of those things that I've actually had to pay so much money
yeah
for consulting with.
yeah.
Um, and it just makes you
But
realize why people have to hire me to help with their nutrition. Like some people are like, oh, I should know this. It's like, no, you shouldn't. Like that's why I exist. And I literally cannot pick out a couch and place it in a room my life. Like I just cannot do it. I could have all the Pinterest pictures. I could have everything in mind and just literally not be able to do it. It's like the craziest thing to me.
Yeah, well, that comes kind of innately natural to me, and so for me, that's one of my passions. My podcast is also one of my passions, but for interior design, I think it's just I don't know. It's about loving where you are. It makes me happy.
It takes a really unique and sophisticated brain because I always find that it's like an artist, right? Because there's a design, but the fact that it's like the real measurements and
Oh,
spacing
right.
element,
That's
um,
the key. You
there's like a
got to
sense
get
of like
your
physics to it too. It's
yeah. You have to get the spacing, and that was
and practicality and cost and budget. Like
usability too. It's like I don't have children, so I have clients that have children, so I like a lot of white sofas.
right,
Like
yeah.
but they're like Heidi. We have a 3-year-old that walks.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
hard to interior design for people with kids. Without them, I
yeah.
accidentally made that mistake.
Oh
She
yeah,
also threw me into this like impractical whirlwind.
right.
But yeah, it's definitely takes skill. Definitely takes skill.
Well, I'm glad you recognize that. Thank you. It's
Yeah,
it's a fun job.
very much.
Fun. I love it. But we're glad to have people like you too, because I don't like. That's why I'm so fascinated with talking to you, is because it's not my forte. Like I'm always like, okay, what should I eat today? But the consistency thing I really like. So sparkling water. That was my question. Does that count as water?
Yeah, but it just it's hard to drink as much.
Okay, right. But it's okay. Like if you want to drink 125 ounces, sparkling water could be 30 of it, and it's no problem.
Yeah. I
Okay,
drink.
good. All right, cool. I had someone ask me that, and I was like, I don't know. I'm going to be interviewing Ilana. I'm going to ask her that. All right. So your book, You Can Drop It, is, I mean, it's wildly successful. If you look at the Amazon reviews, like they're insane. Everyone loves your book. And it focuses, the thing that I love about it is it focuses not only on nutrition, but mindset. And just talking to you, I can see that it's why it's so successful is the mindset is everything. I mean, you're new now. You've coached 240,000. I mean, through your book and through.
Even more now. My whole weight loss program is actually on Beachbody On Demand now, which is accessible to over 2 million people.
I
So it
saw
would be
Beach
really hard to quantify how many people are
Body.
actually doing my program at this point, which is super exciting.
I know I mean, it's super exciting. But is there a mindset that you have found that has been a consistent, like key characteristic to people who are able to keep off their weight?
Uh, yeah, I just think it's exactly what I mentioned. It's like not having any doubts about the fact that you are better, you feel better, you perform better, you can love more, you can give more,
And
everything
care.
and that you care.
Yeah.
So, my clients who have that sentiment, they keep it off for life. The clients I have who start because their kids are making them do it or
Yeah.
their spouse is making them do it, they don't really care. Much harder. But like anyone who I work with who like was thinner before and like has those clothes still and like knows how they felt there and all that stuff, they usually do a great job. They know exactly what they're going for. I didn't have a thinner self to go for, but I think just being surrounded by friends who were leaner and I mean, a lot of it is cultural, what you surround yourself, what you look at, which is why now it's very different than it ever was, just because we
Right.
are changing our Barbies and we're changing our dolls and we're changing our actresses and we're changing everything. And I'm like so all for body positivity and inclusivity because I was really obese when it wasn't as prevalent,
Right.
which made me such an odd man out and made it so difficult for so many reasons. But it also kind of pushed me to want to get healthier.
Right.
Um, and I think we're in like a really odd place now because it becomes part of the culture and part of the acceptance. And as majority, as 2 out of 3 Americans are overweight or obese, it's really the majority that are.
Right.
And then it's like you see things like I finally achieve an ideal body weight. And then I was starting to get people saying, like, you don't eat, you're too thin, and all that stuff. And it's just like, oh my God, I worked so hard to being classified as a normal BMI. And now I'm the odd one out again, like for having a healthy BMI. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I really hope to continue to get this message across because losing weight with my program is a really, really healthy approach to weight loss.
It
And
sounds it.
I think the issue of why we actually came to this place of like almost a negativity around weight loss is because there have been so many really bad diets out there for so long that
Yeah.
have made people feel so bad about themselves for failing and falling off because cleanses and juices and eating no carbs and all of these just like horrible extreme fad diets I think have just like failed people for so many years that everyone just is in the state of like I can't put myself through this torture anymore, like I have to accept myself for the way I am. And my heart really goes out for all those people because I'm really thankful that I created my weight loss system uh, before falling into that trap, because I saw my parents were in it and I saw it was leading them nowhere and actually causing them to just gain more and more weight year after year. So I think it's just like really important to explain to people that like you really can lose weight out of a sense of freedom. It could be happy, so
Mhm.
that you don't look at it as like losing weight. You don't associate it with such a dreadful, horrible thing. It's actually such a rewarding, exciting thing, especially when you learn that you could eat a lot and you could feel full and you could eat delicious flavors. And you don't even have to work out so hard. Like all these things are possible. I just have to keep like pushing that message so people can access my like really easily accessible and affordable programs now, so they can kind of get their mindset around it.
Yeah, so it's more, I believe the reason why it sounds to me like it's so successful too is because there are so many diets. Yours doesn't really seem to be like a diet.
Right. Really
It's
a
a
lifestyle, which is why
lifestyle,
people who don't have a lot of weight to lose like it too, because
right?
it just helps you shape your relationship with food in a positive way.
Right, which is the key. I'm so glad that we're talking about that because the relationship with food is the problem,
Mhm.
and being able to say no to things that you want, but you're like, nah, I don't really need it, or I've had my fill for the day or whatever. So that's so good. Your focus, let's see, high protein is something that I know has always been a very popular thing. Now, for me, it kind of messes my stomach up. uh,
Mhm.
you focus mostly on veggies though. Now, building muscle and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you should have protein at every meal. So I kind of talk about how much protein to have and where to have it and all those things. So you're constantly maintaining and building muscle to your liking.
Okay, all right, good, because I love vegetables too. And so, do you eat vegetables at breakfast?
I try to. Doesn't
Okay,
always work out.
yeah, okay, all right. I was just curious. That was just kind of a random question. So,
I
uh,
always say veggies at breakfast are extra credit,
okay, good, good.
but
All right. So I do what you were talking about. I do eat the same thing a lot. I found that works for me. So if you had to eat the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what would you eat?
oh, it's a great question. And it's one meal, just like every single meal.
Right. So this is what you're going to have to eat to be healthy and to feel good. I'm putting you really on the spot.
I love salmon. Like I could eat salmon every single meal, every single day. Like especially if it was like pesto one day, teriyaki another day, sushi another day, air fried another way. I do love salmon, and
Okay.
then
Salmon's
just
good. That would be good.
a lot of roasted vegetables, peppers, cabbage, turnips, zucchini.
Okay. I
Oh,
see you have a lot of zucchini in your pictures. It looks like you would.
mushrooms. I love them all.
I love mushrooms too. All right, so that's good. I mean, I think because I could even eat salmon. Like I love smoked salmon.
I
I
love smoked salmon too.
Yeah, I can eat
And some,
this.
yeah. And I love dressings and condiments and all that jazz.
Does your book have dressings and condiment like ideas?
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
can't wait. All right, awesome. All right, so now your internet presence is huge. I mean, you just said you had over 1 million followers on TikTok, which is crazy, but I can see the draw. Your energy is so good, and usually, like I'm like smiling or laughing along with you because they're hilarious. Now, how do you come up with those ideas? Is this just something you like meditate, or you're like, oh, I'm going to do this?
Usually it's, like I'm in a private client session and there was a good idea. And so
You just come up with it that way. Okay.
but I'm working on a program now to help people in the health field improve their communication and public speaking, private counseling, and social media. So I plan
Good.
on sharing more of those tips and like the integrative strategies and planning techniques and execution
Awesome.
uh, more and more.
Well, that'll be super helpful. Okay, so now I do videos, but not like I do. I love videos as well. But so I know how much time it takes. Do you spend a lot of time? It just seems like they're so spontaneous, which I love.
Yeah, they're pretty
Really?
spontaneous.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay. All right. So now you have obviously found your passion. It probably was according to your journey of weight loss. So many people dream of living their passion. Do you have any advice on how to turn your passion into a thriving business because you've done that so well?
That's really what I plan on teaching in this next course I'm
I'm
developing,
looking for that.
is really help people step by step, like knowing exactly where to start. I think there's a lot of confusion that takes place between where you are now, struggling with your job or your career, or your day to day, and then where you like ultimately want to go. And it's kind of the same with weight loss. Like you might know where you are now, but you don't know where, like you don't know how to get to where you want to be. So that's how I did in my weight loss program. I really hope to be able to help people kind of take those steps in the positive direction in terms of forming and creating their ideal dream career lifestyle.
Absolutely. I would think that the principles would be sort of the same, just like what you're saying, because if you know,
It's
you
just
know
different platforms, different
yeah.
sites, different
All right.
marketing tactics and all those.
Well, I cannot wait to see that come out. So, and I'm sure I will because I follow you on Instagram and I, just I love all of the stuff that you talk about. So, how could people get in touch with you? I mean, what like I'll put in the show notes your handle and
Yeah, definitely. I'm Ilana Muhlstein RD on Instagram and Nutrition Babe on TikTok and Ilana Muhlstein on LinkedIn and ilanamuhlstein.com. And then my book is called You Can Drop It. And my video-based program, which is like a little bit more comprehensive for sure, it feels more like an online course, is a 2B Mindset. So the number 2, the letter B, mindset.com.
yes. I have looked at that. It looks phenomenal. And your book, I encourage everyone to run over to Amazon. Would that be the best place? Because
Yeah.
okay.
Amazon, and you can also get the audiobook too, which is me reading it.
Wonderful. Well, this has been so much fun and so full of.
My kids are crying outside. You're going to start hearing them.
Good, we're perfect
timing.
All right, Ilana, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.